first of all, I think, should we call the meeting or should we wait a few more? I have 9:02.
We do have a quorum now, so whenever you want to start.
Okay, I guess we can call this the September delegate meeting for INC. We can call to order. There's been some changes, so I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about this morning. I'm going to share my screen here, and I hope I do this right. I hope I pick the right one. I think that's it. See if this works. No.
We see it, Drew. You're good.
Oh, you do? Okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, this is the agenda for this morning's meeting. So thank you, Adam. Good morning, everyone. So I think we'll start the meeting. We have a quorum, and I want to make a couple announcements first. But first of all, I am the interim president after Loretta Kaler resigned, and we had a couple other resignations. We're going to get to that, but I think first we're going to address some kind of regular matters that all of you might be interested in. Number one, the first one is that at the next delegate meeting, we are going to have a ballot forum. At our delegate meeting on October 8th, we are working with Denver Channel 8 and the League of Women Voters. They're going to do a separate video forum, the Channel 8 will, but we're going to have our own forum. And we are going to address 4 issues that are up. 3 of them are citywide issues. 1 is a state issue. We are going to spend about a half hour on each issue, and we'll have presentations from both sides and then a discussion. So the 4 issues we're going to talk about will be Denver deserves sidewalks. That will be on the ballot. No eviction without representation. Waste no more. And then we're going to discuss the state ballot issue on an income tax rate reduction. So these are often very lively discussions, and we encourage everybody to participate on October 8th. However, if you have any questions that you want to submit for Denver Channel 8s, they have their own video, their own studio, they're doing their own forum. They're asking for questions from us. And please submit them by September 30th to Jane Potts or Greg Sorensen or me. I guess we should put our email addresses in the office or in the chat.
Hey, Drew.
Yeah. Hi, Adam.
Hi. If people think of questions during the meeting, can they put them in the chat? And I didn't notice if Jane was here or not. Well, Greg.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, just skip a step, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Do we have somebody to record? I think we are going to have a nomination for a secretary here, but I think we can capture those. That's a good idea, Adam.
So for our forum, we're hoping to find a moderator, and so people could submit questions in the chat, and then the moderator would review them and forward them. However, for the Channel 8 video, there won't be an opportunity to ask questions live. They have to all be presented beforehand. So that's the difference between our 2 formats.
And
Thank you, Greg.
Drew, for those of us that haven't been to one of these before, are you having both sides?
Oh, yeah.
An issue? Okay.
Yes, yeah, Keith, I forgot to mention that. Maybe Greg should speak to that a little more. He's worked more with Jane Potts and Michael Henry and I on that. We definitely present both sides. We have a for and against. Greg, did you want to comment on?
Yes, that is a requirement, and definitely for the Channel 8 videos, there will be pro and con. And hopefully we will be deciding that. The one snafu possibly is that the ballot issues will be finalized on Monday, so there could be a change.
Right, very good. Very good. Okay, so I hope everybody can attend that on October 8th. That there's all really important issues coming up. So next on the agenda is approval of minutes, but I think we do not yet have our August meeting minutes put together for approval. Can somebody correct me on that, or is that something we need to do at a later date?
Well, I did I take those minutes?
Yeah,
No?
you did. Have we formalized that?
I-
Greg? Adam took some good notes.
They're done, Drew. I just don't know
Adam
that.
took-
For the August delegate meeting, I don't recall seeing minutes for that. Adam had taken minutes for the executive committee meeting.
That's right.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Okay. Sorry about that.
So I think we would have to go back and review the video and compile minutes from that and then present it at the next delegate meeting for approval.
Okay, can we do that? Why don't we have at the next meeting, I guess we'll try to do August and September then. Okay, so let's move next to the treasurer's report. Greg, you're the treasurer. Do you want to give us a summary?
It's a very quick report. We've had little change. From July, we have $464.15 in checking, $39.60 in petty cash. Savings is $13,969.39, and our community fund is $26,016.92. For the operating income, we had less than a quarter of interest on our savings account. We had one R&O renewal. For the month, our big expense was $217.84 for renewing our website licenses and support plans through Start Logic. So that's pretty much, and there was no activity in the community fund. I would like to give a shout out to Joanna Rosa-Saenz, who has volunteered to review our 2021 financial statements. And she has also volunteered to be budget chair and will be acting on that at the next executive committee meeting. But thank you, Joanna. What a great help you have been so far.
Great. Thanks, Joanna, for stepping in. That's a big help.
It is my pleasure. Thank you.
Great. You're very welcome. Okay, let's continue with the committee reports. I just put them in this order. Climate and sustainability. Do we have either Keith or Jane Potts to summarize that?
Sure, I can just talk about the meeting we had in August. It was with, we had a couple of different presentations. One was from the city's forester's office, and they were talking about the urban forestry plan. We had a really great turnout. I think we had almost 50 people on the call, and they were talking about the upcoming, what they're planning for the next year with the urban forestry plan. And I'm trying to think, it was Mike Swanson and Elizabeth Judd. And Mike Swanson has been the city forester, I think, for about 20 years, and we talked about several issues that have been, in the city forester's office for a number of years, and where they'd like to see the city forestry plan go in the next few years. There was a discussion on right-of-way trees, which is trees that are past the Hell Strip on your easement, and whether those are currently homeowner managed, and I think the forester's office would really like to see some type of initiative down the road, potentially with the city doing that, but that's a big lift as well. So they talked about some other green plans for the city as well. It was a really great discussion, and we have an upcoming meeting on the 22nd where we are going to talk about one of these. We are going to have a presentation from one of these issues that are going to be talked about at the October 9th meeting, which is the Waste No More initiative. They're going to come and present at our meeting as well. And we're also going to be talking about the potential of putting a platform together for the Climate and Sustainability Committee. So that's what we got on our plate.
Great, Keith, thanks. A lot of good stuff. Maggie, do you want to talk about Parks and Rec?
We were co-hosting with the sustainability group last month. So that was a joint effort. I hope that we do similar meetings together, both with sustainability and also with zoning as they overlap with our mutual interests. That's about all I have.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Maggie. Joel, transportation, you want to give us a summary of what's going on?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. INC Transportation Committee met 2 days ago on Thursday. We had a packed meeting, both agenda-wise and attendance-wise. We had 5 topics. First, we had a presentation from the Denver Regional Council of Governments. We had their executive director and long-range planner on, as you've read about in the news, they're in the middle of changing their 2050 long-range plan to better align with the greenhouse gas goals that the state has set. And this means a lot of individual changes, but the headline changes are taking off of the plate several highway expansions. So we were able to dig into what that means with the folks who were in the middle of doing it. Next, we met with David Kretzinger. He's the director of transit for Dottie. So he's in the city, but working on the long-range plans for transit that implement what we called for in Denver Moves transit. So he didn't just talk about East Colfax, although the East Colfax BRT is, of course, the one that's moving forward first. He had a lot of news on other corridors they're looking at, including Federal Boulevard, Colorado Boulevard, and Lincoln Broadway, et cetera, and give us a sense of the sequence that they'll be pursued based on funding availability. By the way, the meeting is recorded, as all of our many or all of our INC meetings are, and all the transportation committees are. So they'll be updating on the YouTube channel soon if you want to watch this. Next, we had some time to hear from RTD Director Angie Rivera Malpiedi. She served on the RTD board twice and is nearing the end of her term. She was recently chair of the RTD board and kind of gave a recap thoughts about her time on the RTD board, the challenges that RTD has gone through, certainly successes, but also challenges looking forward, and kind of the beginnings of her thoughts for where she thinks RTD should go in the future. Next, we had 2 short topics from advocacy groups. One, neighbors Alan Cowgill and Nicole McSpirit presented on neighborhood bikeway design. As you're aware, Denver is building out its bike facilities, and sometimes there's bike lanes, sometimes there's protected bike lanes, but one of the categories of bike facilities they have is neighborhood bikeways. The problem that neighbors are finding is sometimes neighborhood bikeways are really comfortable and great to bike on. They're slow, leafy neighborhood streets, and sometimes they're fast streets that are uncomfortable, but they just painted some sharrows on them. So we have, this range of outcomes with this one facility type that the city likes to claim is a high comfort facility type, but it's only high comfort if it's done well. So they had a really visual presentation talking about both what works and what doesn't, and a sign-on letter that they're encouraging people to individually sign on to, and it's calling on the city to do better neighborhood bikeway designs. And then finally, Danny Katz, who's the head of COPERG, gave us an update on August 31st. His organization and a whole alliance of, I think, a dozen organizations launched the Alliance to Transform Transportation. This is a multi-year metro-wide push of various groups, from environmental groups, transportation advocacy groups, social justice groups, disability groups, to better prioritize and to increase funding for transportation. So all that'll be on the YouTube video, and I think it was a very successful meeting. Our next meeting will be November 10th, the second Thursday in November. Thanks.
Joel, can you
Thank you,
put a
Joel.
link in the chat for that, that bike, the bike transportation, bike lanes thing?
Yeah, the sign-on letter.
Yes, the sign-on letter. Thank you. That
I'm
would be
happy
great.
I'm happy to pass that along.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, Joel. Do we have Christine O'Connor? Christine, you're here could you give us a brief on zoning and planning committee?
Yes, unless Ian is here, Ian really should give it, but Ian?
Is Ian's got his hands full, I know, so is Ian?
Okay, so in July, we had two presentations, one from Javier Mabry from the COVID-19 eviction defense project. But what he was really discussing was the impact of state legislation on housing. And then somebody from the Conservation Colorado talked about the impact of state climate legislation on climate action and greenhouse gas. And we had no meeting in August, and we do not have one for September. I'm going to talk to Joel about a suggestion that came through from the city, but I don't know if that'll be ready for a presentation for a month or so. And if there are any people who are interested in helping on zoning and planning, we need a delegate who is interested, and you can reach out to me. And as you know, Ian is very busy running for office. So, and I am going to run for secretary today. So it would be great to have some other people who know zoning and planning and want to help with this effort. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Yeah, we need we need somebody to help and chair the ZAP committee. That's one of the longest it's been in effect, one of the longest. It's a great committee that got me first interested in INC, the Zoning and Planning Committee. So we are looking for people to chair that committee.
I am
okay,
taking, Drew, I am trying to take notes today, so I will have Maggie send me the chat and try to put some of the questions and whatever's coming into the chat, because I'm not reading it right now. So I will try to also put links into the minutes for the committee meetings so people have those links.
Thank you, Christine. I'm sure we'll be in good hands. You're incredibly thorough. I know that. And so I think this is a good transition to sort of for the whole delegation to talk about. Last month we had the president and Loretta Kaler and our secretary Emmett Hobley and one delegate at large, David Halterman, resigned basically over disagreements about renewing a contract for DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. So there's a couple housekeeping things we need to take care of in that regard, but we're going to have a discussion later about DEI, how essential it is with INC, and also the future of INC as you see it. So I am the interim president until we accepted the resignations of the president's secretary and one delegate at large. And so I'm the interim president until the next annual election. I think it is in March of 2023, when I think also the vice president will be up for election. So we'll confirm, what is going on at that election. But as interim president, I need to fill the positions of vice president and secretary as soon as possible. So today, hold on, Loretta, did you have something to say?
Yes, I want to make a correction. So I quit not because of the vote. It was because of the actions of the board. And I think you all know that, and I explained that in an email. So it wasn't so much that we didn't renew the contract. That wasn't the issue. The issue was that the board refused to go forward with DEI work. And what I brought up initially was, in order to do DEI work, you need to have a BPOP person who would be able to facilitate a meeting. And it can't be, go back, and the vote of the board was that it goes back to a 95% white delegation, which wasn't going to have a person of color lead a meeting. That was my point. And I'm not gonna have to pursue that again and keep saying it over and over, but that's what it was. Because, you know, it's not just that you refuse to use Justin as our ongoing contract. The issue was it was just going to be brought back to the delegation and they were going to make a policy. It's inappropriate. And this is why INC has a difficulty in bringing on people of color. So if you want to bring on, and that's why our other board member, Emmett, had quit also, was because, you know, not, you know, accepting that INC needs to have a way to bring on more people of color into this organization and respect positions of people of color in this organization. So I think you all need to acknowledge that and understand that that's part of the issue. You know, having someone lead a committee that is a person of color is what you have to facilitate, and someone who knows DEI, not someone who's, you know, just a person of color, but someone who does DEI work. So that's part of the issue.
So Loretta, thank you for that. But I think that's exactly what we're about to do, is get someone who can lead that, who is a person of color, to do that. So I think we can still do that, Loretta. That's the way that we want to move forward. I see Joanna Rosa-Saenz. Do you want to comment? Did you have
Thank
your
you.
hand up, Joanna?
Thank you, Drew. I just wanted to first thank Greg for the recognition earlier in terms of just helping with the finances. I obviously, with two hyphenated last names, Rosa-Saenz, I'm a woman of color and very involved in my community, about 19 years, going on 20, for just grassroots community organizing here in North Denver. And I'm very familiarized with diversity and inclusion, as I put Colorado on the map through the PTA with the Jan Dane Diversity and Inclusion. We brought back a national award regarding that. So I would just like to say, Greg, Andrew, thank you for allowing me, a single woman with 3 awesome kids of color, to be a part of this. And I also just wanted to say, for the record, this should not be about any type of bureaucracy with race, because white is also a color. This is about humanity and in what we are going to do moving forward in our communities. And we need to have unity in the community in order to move forward and stop these barriers. So I am here as a delegate of Inc. and as a representative for Harkness Heights, where I attend as well. And I look forward to seeing where the board does move in forward and our future for Denver and the constituents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna. Hopefully you will be an essential part of this whole discussion moving forward. You certainly sound like someone who would be very valuable to the discussion. So thank you also for just being here, and also for what you're doing as budget director, but also just participating. I hope you'll participate more in this discussion. So I think we need to move on, and I want to nominate for vice president, the current co-chair of this Climate and Sustainability Committee, Keith Meyer. So I'm nominating Keith for vice president. I think he's a highly intelligent person who really cares about the city. And Keith, do you want to just say a few words before? Let me just explain what goes on here. I nominate to fill these positions, and then the delegation, we have a quorum, needs to approve that nomination, or rather affirm it by a majority within the voting delegates. So we need to fill the position of vice president. So I'm nominating Keith Meyer. Keith, do you just want to say a few words?
Sure. Thanks, Drew. I don't really have anything prepared, but I'm happy to just talk about a little bit about what I've done in the past and why I am interested in doing this role in particular. I am an attorney up here on the north side of Denver, and a few years ago I walked into my RNO, my old RNO in the Highlands, and I said to a sustainability meeting, and I said, "Is this where I can register my complaints?" And after a good chuckle, we all started talking about the need to organize and get together. The fact that we only had, there was all these RNOs on the north side of Denver, but there was only one or two people that really cared about sustainability in each RNO, and we didn't really feel that effective. So, as a group, we organized RNOs up on the north side of Denver to become the Northside Sustainability Alliance. And we got, 14 RNOs involved together to really make some sustainability issues a focus up there. And, I really felt a connection with folks from different RNOs in doing that, and I was asked to join the Inc. Climate and Sustainability Committee a couple of years ago, and have really felt a good connection there and with Inc. And I'd really like to focus on helping to kind of rebuild the infrastructure of Inc. and the connection with RNOs, and figuring out how Inc. can better serve RNOs out there, and figure out what issues RNOs are having, and how Inc. can really be a supportive presence there. And as far as DEI issues go, I'm absolutely fully on board with trying to make Inc. more representative of the city as a whole as well, and really trying to connect with different communities and neighborhoods around Denver, and make sure that the issues that are brought before Inc. are ones that are representative of kind of the entire city, and understanding that different neighborhoods have different issues, and really trying to figure out how to get those voices out there and make sure that they're heard better within the city.
Great, thank you, Keith. I got so we need a second for Keith's nomination. Does anyone second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Maggie. So let's take a vote. Among only delegates, people with a D before their name can vote. So, oh, I'm sorry, Lou Raiders, you have your hand up. We should listen to, Lou, do you have something to say?
Actually, I was putting my hand up to vote.
Oh, you're ahead of, okay.
After hearing Keith, I was so excited about everything he had to say and how spot on. So maybe I was overexcited in putting my hand up to vote for him.
Okay, Luke. So I guess, correct me if I'm wrong here, somebody, but I think we need to take a vote on Keith as vice president. So could everybody, unless we have someone on the phone, raise their hand that supports, I'm looking here, I'm not sorry, reactions, raise hand. So this is a vote to approve Keith Meyer as vice president. Do we have, Christine, are you taking? A tally, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I wasn't counting, I'm recording. I'm waiting to hear how many I'm writing.
Let me see if I can see here. I guess it says 21 in favor.
Drew,
Yeah,
your hand isn't up.
I thought that it was, okay.
And for anybody who is voting, I just recommend you not use the raise hand. It stays up as opposed to reactions that doesn't stay up.
Okay, see, I thought that I did. Hold on, raise.
'Cause I
Okay,
think-
Drew, you
like-
might
Um,
unshare your screen and
oh,
that way we'll be able to see all of the
okay,
hands that are up.
so I'm going to stop share. There we go. Is that better?
Yes. And Patricia, I'd seen you put your clap hand up, but do a raise or lower, a raised hand at the bottom of your Zoom reactions.
Patricia Mulligan, there.
There. That's the one that doesn't work, doesn't stay on.
The
So,
clap.
yeah, the clap doesn't stay on.
Okay, all right. Do we have a tally? I see 23, but then I think Patricia's a 24. Does that sound right? Okay, can everybody, if we've got that tally, can everybody lower their hand? Okay. Are there any opposed to, make sure your hands are lowered. Are there any opposed to Keith Meyer as vice president? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see one. Okay. Okay, I see, is that one? Has everybody? Okay, so we have one opposed and can you, everyone lower their hands? Can that one person lower their hands? Do we have any abstentions? Okay, it looks like no abstentions. So I think we have what was it, 21 or 22 to 1?
You said 20.
Congratulations.
I think
Sorry.
it was 24 to 1.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Greg. Christine, did you have a comment?
No, I wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations, Keith. You're the new vice president of Inc. So now we need a secretary, and I've nominated somebody that I've known for a long time. Christine O'Connor is currently co-chair of zoning and planning. And Christine, do you want to just say a few words?
Sure, because I see, I always think you all know me, but I see some people I don't really know at all. So welcome to the INC. I have been around and on INC for a long time, attending the ZAP zoning and planning meetings and as a delegate from Lowry United Neighborhoods for some time. I also work on the Superfund Community Advisory Board and am active in that quadrant, the North Denver, Elyria, Globeville, Swansea area on that Superfund site. And I've done a number of things that you may or may not remember me for, but my main goal in staying active as I reach retirement age is to make sure that we actually implement policies to go with what we said in the bylaws we would do on anti-racist work in every area that we work in. I believe that we really have done quite a bit over the years to move around to different neighborhoods. We've had quite a bit of varied participation, but there's so much room for work. And I've been working on my own personal journey and would like to continue on the board to incorporate that work in whatever we do. I mean, we have a lot on our plate, so it can't be, it's got to just be worked into everything. And then we need to decide what our policies are. But that's my reason for running. And to help you out because we need a secretary right now.
Yes, yeah, we do. Okay. Thank you, Christine, very much. So let's take a vote for Christine and then we can let others speak that want to. So I'm going to ask everybody in
I
favor.
second her nomination.
I'm sorry, we need a second. Thank you, Greg. So everyone in favor of Christine as secretary, please raise their hand. Okay, I'm seeing 22 here. Has everybody, okay? All right, we'll call that 22 in favor of Christine. Everybody, please lower your hand. And then, so if we have all hands lowered, then for the yes for Christine, can everyone who is opposed or says no to Christine for secretary, please raise their hand. Okay, I'm seeing one opposed. Okay, thank you. Can that person lower their hand? And then any abstentions? Let's see, I'm seeing one abstention. Sorry, Christine, you have a comment?
I guess I have to abstain, so put 2.
Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, so I think we can call that, welcome Christine as a new secretary of Inc. Thank you. I want to catch up here because we have some people that want to speak. Emmett, would you like to speak? Hi, Emmett. Did you want to speak?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you hear me now? Okay, I want to set the record straight because I'm giving a lot of disinformation.
Emmett, it's a little hard to hear you. Could you speak up a little bit more?
Yeah, I'll get closer. Can you hear me better now?
I think that's a little better.
Okay. I don't have my headphones on right now, so I just want to say that this diversity and equity committee was started for a reason. And I want to make everyone aware why it was started. It started because a board member put up a proud member advertisement on our website. Thought it was completely all right. Found nothing wrong with it. And this told me that the culture in this group was facilitating it. And when I got a call from Eon, he was very upset too about this. And at that time, we had decided we were going to lead this organization. At that time,
I can't understand, Emmett. I am sorry, I can't understand.
what can't you understand?
I can't hear anything you're saying. I don't know if anyone else is having trouble.
Hold on one second. Let me go get by. Put me on hold.
So I think after Emmett's comments, we're going to proceed to the discussion that I think that relates very much to what Emma is talking about. I'll read in the chat. Loretta says he is talking about a board member posting something from Proud Boys, a hate group under the Southern Poverty Guidelines. I think I don't. I think I know who you're referring to, Loretta. I think that was over 2 years ago. That person is gone from the board, and I don't know how much longer.
I don't know. Can I just interrupt you, Drew?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
I'm
sure.
just trying to, because Adam said he couldn't understand, so I'm just relaying that. I don't know who that person was, but it's like INC has had a history of posting things that were inappropriate and that were, there have been a few people that we've tried to deal with in the past that have done this. Now, who the board member who posted this, I don't know who Emmett is specifically talking about, but INC has had to work through a lot of issues, and I'm bringing this up because this is something that I think hasn't been acknowledged, needs to be acknowledged. There's been rationale for why people don't want to join INC because of this ongoing perspective. You might want to say it's water under the bridge 2 years ago, but you have to work through that. And in order to do something to work through that, you have to have actual policies and actual work and people who are on the screen, who are diverse and who will be here to work on these issues. And that was the whole point moving forward. It's not water under the bridge. There are still communities who think of INC as not being accepting. So unless you move with that, it's not going to change and you're not going to bring people in. All right, that's part of it. I tried to bring a person of color on to be a speaker at each meeting. Whether you continue that work, I don't know. But that's something that I've tried to do to bring people in. And I think at times we've had a good representative of people across the city that have been people of color. Whether you have a board now that's predominantly white, I mean, that, how that works, we've tried to change that, but you need to do something moving forward.
I agreed, Loretta. I totally agree. And that's what we're going to try to do. I think we need to acknowledge the problem. And I think we're going to move forward with that. I mean, you had a different method of how you wanted to do that. And that's, I think, why you resigned. But we really also can't just all throw up our hands and walk away. So that's why we have to move on. And I think I'm going to try to go back to Emmett. Did you want to try to finish what you were saying, or?
Yeah, I have some other people on the call, so I can't use my headphones right now, so they're listening in. But I did want to say that when you tell me that you care about diversity and equity, and then you show me an all-white delegation that's going to tell me, that's going to straighten that out, the very oppressors that started this, I just think it's laughable. And it's a call to action to you. Because you're telling me something I know you can't do, I know you don't want to do. You say you want diversity and equity. Is it only in words? Is it only on paper? Or are you going to take this to heart and are you going to carry the cross? Because if you're not going to carry the cross, why play the game? And this is why I quit. Because I know I had no problems from the Proud Boys until I mentioned, till I got into it with a certain board member. And then I started getting death threats. There are people on this board right now that are committed to SOS, and they're funded by a white nationalist hate group. These are things that don't have to be mentioned and brought out in the open, because these are things that have been pushed under the rug and not talked about. Okay, no one wants to say anything. We got members on this board that the FBI is investigating right now for a racist state. And we want to sit here and play like nothing's wrong. We're at the point of no return. It's time to look in the mirror and stop playing games. If you really want to do this, do it. But I don't see it happening. Now, when you reject the only person of color, check it straight out. And that's my call, man.
Okay, Emmett, I think we're going to kind of continue this discussion. I think this is a good moment to transition. I will say, Emmett, you and I have talked, we've had long conversations, and I think that we need to make this commitment. We need to recognize the past and we need to make this commitment. I dispute some of the characterizations of people on this board. I don't really know. I don't really agree with some of the accusations, but I think what we need to do now is to move to a discussion. And so I'm going to share my screen now. Did it work? I think it worked. Can you guys see the agenda? So the rest of this meeting, at least I mean, for now, I would like to just
Hey,
have.
Drew, we can't see the agenda.
Oh, okay. Why didn't I? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Keith. Share. I have to hit share. Okay. Can you see the? Okay. So I think Inc. needs to have this discussion now, kind of about its future and where we go from here. And so what I would like to do is just sort of offer 3 or 4 points of discussion for people to think about, and then we can open this to the delegation. So I'm just going to read the sort of 5 points just because they all relate and we can just all think about that as well. And it goes from anything from our future to future meetings. So number 1, what do you see as the future of Inc.? And part of that is what balance should Inc. strive for with being a resource for RNOs versus advocating on behalf of neighborhoods on critical city issues? Number 2, what do you as a delegate or as a visitor see as Inc.'s role and importance in the dialogue about the future of the city? Number 3, the Inc. board is committed to implementing meaningful diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. This is in our bylaws. We are committed to this in our bylaws. We can work together with members, with RNOs and Denver neighborhoods. How can we put this in practice? And how is our commitment to DEI go with our commitment to be a more representative organization? Number 4 is Inc.'s membership. Our membership is down, and there's many reasons. Many people speculate why this is the case. But I would like to discuss today, how can we expand membership and reach neighborhoods and populations that are left out, that don't have a voice? Which we've already sort of alluded to this morning. Part of that is, are you interested in being part of a diversity, equity, and inclusion outreach committee? If so, please let us know. So we are trying to put together a committee to address DEI issues. And the last one is, what about our future meetings? We've been having meetings online because of COVID for the past, I think, over 2 years. Many people have suggested that we return to having our meetings in the neighborhoods at host RNOs and have a hybrid option for those who can't attend in person. This is how I first got interested in Inc. You get around the city and you see all the different neighborhoods, but this might get us back into communities and let us experience and include different neighborhoods, different demographics, and helping get a better understanding of those communities' needs and issues. So I'd kind of like to just sort of open this up. There's some things in the chat. Does anyone want to does anyone have any ideas at all to sort of relate to how we might, look at some of these look at some of these issues. Eleni, I see your hand up.
Yeah, hi. Just a couple of things. Just so you know, I am a trained diversity, inclusion, accessibility facilitator as part of a collateral duty with my regular job. And I was on the bylaws committee where we did put DEIA in our bylaws. However, when a person of color raised some really good issues about how our construct, how we approach, how we network, some on the committee just thought, and I brought it up and thought, we need to have a discussion about why this person is resigning. And we were told that we need to get these bylaws revised as soon as possible. And that person resigned. So we need to move forward. So let's just take it in perspective that this is going to be incremental. It's not going to happen overnight. It's something I say a lot when I do my regular work for my job. But I think, to Loretta's point, sticking it in the bylaws isn't going to change anything. But when somebody raised that issue to the bylaws committee, that was not heard. And it was because the board said, we got to move forward, including people on this call who are now saying, this is an issue. So I think we need to really, it's a process. It's not just one thing or one opportunity. We're going to have hundreds of opportunities, and we may not meet the challenge for every single opportunity, but we need to try. And I have advocated for language justice, and I have advocated for so many issues, and I have seen some changes. There's a reason why there's an interpreter at City Council all the time. There's a reason why things have changed, because through the R&O, we brought these issues up. Our R&O had an interpreter set up, but that's expensive and hard to do. So let's have some grace in the sense that understanding that a lot of R&Os don't have money to translate documents, to go and leaflet every single neighbor so that they have that information. We do a lot of things electronically, and we do it all in monolingual English. So it's difficult. So it's a process, and I would love to serve on any kind of outreach group. It's work that I've done and continue to do, both as a neighborhood and just, and ever, but it's a big process. And so I think that, we have a good starting point, and I'm happy to help out in any way I can. But I think, to Drew's point, we're just going to have to move forward with the idea that we're going to do better. We're going to try to do better. The city fails all the time in this area, and they're a huge bureaucracy with lots of resources. So let's realize that we are under-resourced to do this work, and it's hard and it's challenging. And we need to look at reparations. We need to look at, there's just a reconciliation, restorative justice. I mean, there's just 100 different things we could look at and try to do better on. And I'm happy to help, those discussions, because it is singularly one of the most important issues. And that's why I come to this group. So happy to continue in any way I can.
Eleni, thank you so much. That was really, you are definitely someone that is really so valuable to this discussion. And I really think we should take you up on your offer for that. Thank you, Eleni. We've got about 4 other people with raised hands, and then I guess there's people on the phone. I can't see them, but I think the next person to speak was Lou Raiders. I think you had your hand up. I think that's the order. Lou, did you have something to say?
Yes, I wanted to just point out that, to Lenny's point, there were reasons other than, suggested language. It was a very robust bylaws committee, And the point about this DEI work, and I have been involved in, and my husband has been involved in, we've done a lot of this work in different organizations. Not like Eleni, I don't purport to be a DEI, that is not part of my job, but my job did include writing bylaws and helping organizations that meet their mission. And the fact is that once you have that as a requirement in your bylaws, the next step is to make sure that you follow through on that. Not everything goes in the bylaws, they'd be hundreds of pages long. It's a statement of who we are as an organization, and that this is an important fundamental value that we need to implement with help from everyone. And even those of us old white women who were part of fighting for justice causes in many different fronts care deeply about this. And so while not all of us have time, I'm happy to help where I can, but the bylaws required that there be a DEI committee formed and that we work on a good policy, and we have these discussions. Now, is INC the place to frankly talk about reparations? Probably not, but it might help for people who care about that issue, for us to help find a path for them where it is an appropriate topic. Remember that no matter what happens, we still have a mission. This organization is not an organization to do all things, but what we can do for this organization is to make sure that we care deeply about D&I, that we reach out to BIPOC communities, that we help connect them, and frankly, we force the city to continue to look at ways to put more resources. To Lenny's point, there are a lot of communities that don't have the resources to make their R&O more robust and the outreach more effective. So can we push for that? Yes. Could we maybe fundraise for that, for something? We are a 501c3. We have that opportunity. So this is a starting point. And I think many people have said this today. It is necessary for us to start somewhere with right-minded people, with a good direction, with it in our bylaws now, and to move forward. And there are all ways to do it. Yes, we want BIPOC people on these committees. We want BIPOC people in the mix, and we can think of all kinds of things. We'll only hold meetings at businesses of color. You can do a lot without changing the mission of the organization. So that's my point, and I applaud the group that's going to step up to that task. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you. Listen, I'm going to go to Keith, and then Lamone, and then Jennifer Jones, and then George. I guess there's people on the phone, but I don't see them. So I'm going to just go through. I think that's the order, but I'm trying to respect everybody's time. So Keith, did you have something to say?
Yeah, we've had a few discussions about this, I think, over the last few months about having a professional involved that can help lead this organization to being, more DEI representative versus having, this kind of, internal committee as well. And I think we had a really good discussion about this at the board meeting a couple of weeks ago. And I kind of talked about this there, and I feel like I can bring it up here again, which is just that I think thinking about this maybe in terms of a couple of different buckets. And, I do think that this organization would benefit from a professional facilitator that can come through and either do presentations or help to kind of figure out, the best way for this organization to be proactive in reaching out to DEI communities. But I also think there's a lot of opportunity for a committee, a very representative committee, to come up with some what can we do now type of actions. And I think that I think there's a lot of small things that Inc. can start off doing And then I think a committee would be, an excellent place for that to kind of come up with, what are 10 things that Inc. can do in the next 6 months of reaching out better to DEI communities, and whether that's through outreach efforts, whether that's putting up our DEI statement on our website, or having some more kind of diverse invitations to come and present at Inc. meetings. I think all those things are very possible to start doing now, and coming up with a list of things to do, and then also starting to work on these kind of longer range, deeper internal issues with Inc. and making sure that we can get BIPOC communities more represented, both as faces on the board and also faces within the organization as well. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for folks that want to step up and help with this, to do kind of both. Have a professional involved that I do think is good to have, as well as have a committee that can really help to reach out. So that's all.
Great, thanks, Keith. I think that's kind of the direction we're moving. Lamone, did you have something good morning, Lamone. Did you have something to say?
Oh, yes, I have plenty to say. Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
So I've only been on this board since March, and I'm basically been trying to understand and catch up with where we were then up to today. Okay. So I have a few comments to make regarding that, which is number one, in order for us to get started with the DEI work that's been a hot topic, we have to establish the baseline of where we're at. First, we have to show honor and respect for the work that Emmett and Loretta have done. I've talked with them pretty extensively and know them both, and they were committed to the heart about getting the INC board reflective of the community. So we have to honor that in spite of the controversy. Secondly, we need to also show honor for the work that Justin Cooper has done, and I would like to hear a wrap up of what his findings were, and then from that we established our baseline. Thirdly, implementation requires a commitment to an action plan. The action plan is similar to what Keith mentioned earlier, where we commit to paper what we're going to do. And that will require a lot of time on the side to set that up so that we can bring that forward from a committee to the board and then to the delegates. Fourth, I need clarification on the role of the INC with the city government now. Is the INC a delegated body of the city to communicate and kind of organize the RNOs, or is the INC an independent group of RNOs that want to represent, the different quadrants of the city? I'm not sure what INC is about, okay? And then fourthly, we need to follow up on Cashman's study of the RNOs and their effectiveness, the groups with around the city and the different neighborhoods, why they are or are not involved with the INC. I'm from Northeast Denver, and our community, the Black community in particular, operates in the nonprofit world because they can specifically solve problems that perhaps other communities don't really care about, but we do. So we need to revisit the how the INC can fit into that specific neighborhood issues, or if the INC should facilitate resources, which is equitable around the city and around the different neighborhoods, being a resourceful organization as opposed to being an activist organization I led an activist RNO and they were very effective with the issue, but when it comes down to inclusion of all the neighborhoods, that was a little different. So the inclusion piece that we're talking about as INC is different. And it is going to require a commitment on paper. It's going to require a committee with a strong action plan. And this is something that we need to look at through the next term, which ends in March. I'm on a 2-year term, but depending upon what transpires in the next several months, March may be the end of my term with INC.
Well, Lamone, thank you. I mean, and you and I've talked about this, and I think that you have a lot to bring, and we need you. I think you have a very valuable point of view. So I'm really glad you're here to talk about this. And I'm hoping you, going forward, we will listen to you, and we can go in take many of your suggestions, Lamone.
Yeah, we have to be for real.
I agree. We have to be for real. Next, I'm gonna, Jennifer Jones from Capitol Hill.
Yes, hi, good morning. I'm Jennifer Jones. I am a community member, a civil rights lawyer, and a DEI professional. I just wanted to say that I do stand in solidarity with Emmett and with Loretta, and just mention that the comment in the chat about white members kind of underscores the problem, that if all white members resign, that there will be no board. To me, that's a recruitment and outreach issue, and that recruitment and outreach should not be performative. And that's a risk in DEI for it to be performative. And so it needs to be community led. And I appreciate many of the comments here, and thank you for allowing me to speak and share my perspective on this issue.
Well, Jennifer, I think maybe you would be a good person to, if you're willing, step up and help us going forward, because you certainly seem to have a lot to contribute. I don't think you have to be a delegate to do this. You know, I think you could be part of this, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, I'm going to go to Bob Lorenz from Inspiration Point. Hi, Bob.
Thank you very much. Ken Salazar is our neighbor and has been for generations. He's now the ambassador to Mexico. He formerly was the Secretary of Interior. He's active in supporting our neighborhood and the INC. His family goes back more generations than any of us sitting here today. Butch Montoya, the former safety manager of Denver, has been also a neighborhood strong leader. He advocated for a 9/11 communications tower that cost $1 million and got it passed. He's still alive and he's working to support the neighborhood every day. John Sanchez lives in the house where his father lived. His father was the judge in Denver. John Sanchez's father served as a strong leader in the neighborhood. George Chacon was my vice president when I was president of the neighborhood in 2002 to 2004. Alfredo Cantu was a close friend, and we walked many times on Inspiration Point. He was a precinct director in the neighborhood for years until precincts, as far as going to the election, were abolished. These are people who have roots that go back much further than any of us. They've been active in the neighborhood with INC and with the city of Denver. I bring them forth because we often forget about the importance of these people. Come here. Come here.
Okay, Bob, thank you. Thank you very much. What other speakers? Let's see, I see there's some people on the phone. Let's see. Okay. I don't know how to pick people on the phone. I'm not seeing, usually it's a number, so I don't, if you don't have your phone, your hand raised. Let's see, I'm going to go to George Mail. You've got your hand raised.
Thanks, Drew, and also thanks to the board of director members for their service, and everyone on this podcast or whatever. Welcome, and great to not see your faces anymore because we've had a lot of lines and wrinkles since the last time we met. It is imperative that this organization gets back to face-to-face meetings. That is when we learn the most from our neighborhoods. That's when we have interaction, and that's when we start getting things done, and we understand the needs of other neighborhoods and the coexistence that we have together. As far as Lamone and Keith mentioned, this all starts, what they said, by our membership. We've lost half of our membership in 2 years. We were up to 110, and now we're down to around 50. We've got to get back our membership, and to do that, the board and executive committee needs to formulate a plan to reconnect with all these neighborhoods and the new people, and let's get back together to being INC. That's all I have. I'll volunteer for anything you need me for. Thanks, Drew, and good luck in the future.
Oh, thank you, George. Thank you, George. Yeah, one of the things that we could talk about today is going back to in-person meetings in the community. The October meeting is going to be held online like this, but maybe we start thinking about that. I think that may help if we do go back to having meetings in the community. Anyway, that's something if other people want to chime in. I'm struggling to see, there's people that I guess are on the phone. Maybe somebody can help me out here. The only hands I see raised. Oh, Christine, I'm sorry. I see you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, but if there's someone on the phone, I will wait.
Okay, I don't know how to take people on the phone on this. Can somebody help me? Who knows?
Just ask them to talk.
Yeah,
Okay.
also, Drew, Justin Cooper's on the line. He would like to speak.
Oh, Justin. Okay, hi, Justin.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Justin. Welcome.
Good to see you again. Can you guys hear me?
Justin, did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, just wanted to follow up in reference to the opportunity that I had to support the INC in reference to the diversity, equity, inclusion work that the INC was doing. So I thought it'd be helpful now in a different capacity, just as a community member and familiar with the work of the INC, to hop on and support and listen in and just listen for the direction moving forward at this current time. I'm happy to comment later on as I listen more in.
Oh, okay, Justin. Yeah, thank you, Justin. In case people don't know, Justin Cooper was the contractor for the DEI for the board. The DEI was only being sort of just talked about among the board. It now moves, we're trying to move it to the delegation. So is there anyone else on the phone that wants to speak? Or Christine, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to caution everybody that I heard a lot of lists that are really great ideas for starting immediately from Lamone, Keith, and Lou. But I just want to caution, this takes tremendous number of hours and hard work, all of it. So we have so many things to get done that we're really looking for some people who can commit like 10 hours a week to working on recruitment. We've tried. Don't think that we haven't tried to get membership back, but we need people who are willing to go to another RNO, say on the West Side, where we really don't have enough, and speak at their next RNO meeting and tell them what INC has to offer. And Lamone made a good point about, at the meeting from the minutes, all the information we have that we can share on how city processes work. But this is hard work and time-consuming work. So it's great to hear so many ideas, but we're looking for manpower. I'm just going to caution, and the anti-racism work takes hours. I'm involved right now in a church one on Dr. Tisby, but that's taken hours and hours and hours to read and study and think about. So I guess I'm just cautioning and asking people, are you willing to do this work and get the recruitment that will enable it to all come together? Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Yes, I think it is going to be a lot of work. I've been told
Can I piggyback off of that?
Sorry. Go ahead, Justin. I'm seeing in the chat there's an Isabella Allen. I don't see her. She's on my phone. Okay.
Got you. And I since I had the opportunity to work with the INC over the last almost now 2 years, but relatively speaking, in reference to the last comment that was made, that was a consistent conversation when we were doing the DEI work with the board around exactly what the last person that just spoke said. Are we willing to do the work? I think it's important for the delegates to know, right? Anti-racist work and diversity and equity inclusion work does require the recruitment of a diversity of community members as delegates, as part of RNOs, and also as part of the board. And I think that's one of the things that the board was working towards, was trying to not only look at how to implement diversity, equity, inclusion, but more importantly, how to look at recruitment of people of color in the RNOs and people of color as delegates as part of the INC. It was one of the biggest gaps that we were able to identify during that work, is that there was a significant lack of diversity, not even just in reference to race, but in reference to gender equality, in reference to age. So it covered a gamut of the demographic issues that the INC is facing. And so that's one of the things that I think that the RNOs across the city and also the delegates in reference to recruitment and increasing membership have to make a priority, because what's happening is there's a significant gap in the community, being aware, especially communities of color in the Denver metro area, being aware of the INC, being aware of the work of the INC, which is pivotal and essential work that you guys are doing. And so that was a major concern that still to this day has not been addressed, that needs to be addressed and needs to be the work moving forward. So thank you for yielding me that time. I just wanted to be able to get the opportunity to share that, as I know that it was important for the larger context of the RNOs and the delegates that are currently attending this morning's call to hear and know that the board was heading in that direction, and the buy-in and the enrollment of the RNOs across the metro area is essential, right? It's one thing to do anti-race. It's one thing to say that folks are interested in diversity, equity, inclusion, but and yield no results. And we can just look at the sheer demographics of all of the RNOs that explicitly illustrate that there is a significant lack of diversity and a significant lack of intention in reference to diversity, equity, inclusion in these RNOs and in these captured areas. And with that, I'm complete. I yield my seat. Thank you so much.
Great, Justin. Great. Thank you for that. I see in the chat, Emmett, you say you have Isabella Allen is on your phone. She wants to speak, Emmett.
Go ahead, Isabella.
Good morning, members of INC. I do have a light cold today, and so my voice is not really my real.
Can't hear him.
I want you to know that for years, and
Emmett, did Isabella Allen want to speak?
Yeah, you can't hear.
No.
Let me raise up my level on my computer. I usually use. Okay. Try again, Isabella. Can you hear?
No.
I do not know what's wrong with my phone.
Well, Emmett, we could come back to Isabella. I was going to
Yeah.
call on, we haven't heard from Ellen Roth yet, and then I'll go to Lamone. You have your hand up again, I take it. So
Can Isabella call the line instead?
Yeah. What's the line number? I'll just have a call it.
yeah, that's a good suggestion. In the meantime, Ellen Roth, did you wanted to speak?
Hi, yeah. Sorry, you will hear my tiny human in the background. But I just wanted to echo the comments made by the previous speaker, where I feel like there's, like, for me, this question of diversity in the delegates is super interesting, because, like, obviously as an RNO, we're putting forth delegates. And so, for me, how I've always used INC or participated in INC is, to advocate for city issues. Sure, like, we vote on things, and that's awesome. But I also use it as a resource to bring things back to my RNO. And so I think, the emphasis of the equity work focusing on, informing RNOs, doing something for RNOs, sharing resources about how to be an anti-racist RNO, so then if RNOs are diversifying their boards and their leadership, INC will then diversify, right? Like South City Park, for instance, we, are making efforts to diversify, but then when we join INC, we're putting forth delegates. So, so I think that is also there's also just such a problem with diversity in RNOs. And so if INC is a resource for those RNOs, then, just as ideas for diversity work, I would like to see those efforts going towards teaching RNOs about how to diversify their membership. And do that recruitment work in addition to INC recruiting more diverse RNOs. So just my 2 cents. And then I think the other issue we face, right, is that INC is made up of a lot of leadership of RNOs, right? So getting people to, for me, for instance, like, I will be the first to admit, like, I'm a new mom and I have a full-time job, and my RNO demands a lot from me personally. And so then it's hard for me to then also take on something like INC, right? Taking on any sort of like other role, committing 10 hours a week is like just not on the table. So then I also think, is there a way for INC to diversify in terms of not just delegates, but just community members that want to only be, working for INC rather than having RNO leadership step up in another way, because I just don't think it's really possible for, a lot of folks to commit an extra 10 hours a week. So that's all I will share.
Thank you, Ellen, very much. I think this goes to a problem that we're not, the approach we had was kind of top down, from the board down. And I think what you're talking about is from the bottom up, kind of, as at the RNO level, but even the RNO level itself may not be that diverse. If RNOs themselves are not diverse, then their delegates to Inc. may not be so diverse. So we're dealing with kind of a big problem here. So I would just say this is a heavy lift, but I think we can do it. But we just have to have the commitment to it. I'm seeing in the chat from Emmett, call on Sunny Benoit. Are you on the phone, Sunny? Is that Emmett, is she on your phone, or can she call in?
No, she should be on the call.
Sunny, can you hear?
No, that's
Okay. Well, I'd like to, I mean, I'm just seeing this in the chat and it, Emmett, it's directly to me, so no one else can see it. But I think in the meantime, I'll go back to Lamone, or sorry, was that?
She's on.
Oh, okay. Suni? Okay, while we're waiting for Suni, Lamone, did you have something else to add, or your hand is up?
Well, yeah, this goes back to the INC being an umbrella organization. That we definitely need to clarify if you're acting on behalf of the city or you're acting on behalf of the neighborhoods and you're bringing the RNOs into the organization to help do a lot of different kinds of work. DEI is something that I've lived with my whole life. It wasn't anything I chose to do. I think what bothers me about the struggle that this board and organization has is that DEI appears to be an option, okay? Maybe in your daily lives, you don't have contact with diverse people. It's something you take for granted. But for me and other folks like myself, DEI is something that we're born into and we're gonna die with it as well. So the struggles that I'm seeing, that's why I suggested earlier that we have to do an action plan and commit to it. And every month we're doing something towards the goal of incorporating DEI as a natural part of this organization.
Great, thanks, Lamone. That's very helpful. Is Emmett, is Suni Benoit available, or are there people on the phone that just want to speak up? Okay. So I'm looking at the chat here. We need a DEI plan and an implementation. So it looks like there is a lot of work ahead. So and we've heard from a number of people who really would like to be part of a DEI plan. We even have many people that are, this is their area of, this is what you do. So do we have a way of sort of forming a committee, a DEI effort to do this? Are there any people? I think Lamone, you're shaking your head. Yes, I guess if you, I think I don't want to put people on the spot, but I think from Eleni we heard to be part of it. That would be great. Are there others? There were several other people that I think volunteered to be part of this effort. How can we, Joanna, Rosa-Saenz, you just raised your hand.
Hi, thank you so much. So I think, and I hear from the constituents in our community that we are ready to move forward and just have things in place in writing. As I put, and I'm so sorry, I say that humbly, but I'm just a person of solution and action, and let's just move forward. And so in the chat, I nominated myself to be the president, because if it's about a skin color, which it doesn't matter because we're all the same underneath, then I will be the face of Inc. I will serve as your president. I have done this work as well, and I am ready to move forward and really get into the nitty-gritty of the neighborhoods and get there. And if we are having translation problems, whether it be in Spanish or sign language, I can help with that. There's no more excuses. It is time to put unity in the community, and I am here for that. We could sit here all day, talk about shoulda, woulda, coulda, but let's just move forward with an action plan. So thank you, Tina, for saying that. And I do say that most humbly because I am a single mom with 3 kids, but I am willing to do the work. Thank you.
Joanna, are you a delegate from your RNO?
I am, yes.
Okay, well then you can run for president, you can be on any committee, and if you're willing to put in the time, then we could use you. So thank
I am
you.
willing.
We need you. I will just say the neighborhood that I'm from, Elyria Swansea, although I'm a white guy, it's about 80% Latino. And so that is a community that I think is underrepresented. So we definitely need to diversify. I think you could be a big help, Joanna. I'm gonna call on Jennifer Jones. Have we heard from her yet? Jennifer?
Yes, you have. I was just going to help, volunteer to help with any DEI efforts that may be underway.
Oh, wonderful, Jennifer. So I think we are getting a growing list. That's really great. And I think what we next have to do is maybe with Lamone, if you wanted to lead this or find something. It looks like we do have, I hate to use the word committee because it just sounds like so like.
This could be a what do you call these groups that actually start it and then bring people in, but this could be like a focus group for sure.
That's a great question, and I think Lamone, if you can make it to the board meeting on Monday, maybe we can expand on this because it sounds like we need to sort of lay out how we're going to do this. I'm actually excited that it sounds like there's some movement here.
Yeah, what I would like to see are names go up in the chat of people who are interested in being part of this focus group.
Okay, so far I've taken you, Lamone, Joanna, Rosa-Saenz, and Jennifer Jones. Okay. But if there's others, it looks like Lou has Lou Raiders has made the comment that we take nominations for president in March. Let's see. Here's another thought. We have 2 open delegate seats right now. So if you're interested in being on the Inc. board as a delegate at large, you need to be a delegate from a neighborhood. So Joanna and Jennifer Jones, are you a delegate to Inc.?
No.
From Meyer, she's going to start.
Yeah, I mean, that's just part of the structure we have. It's kind of it's tied to the RNO structure. So your RNO has to make you a delegate. So whether that's right or not, that's kind of what it is. Let's see, Lou, you've had your hand up for a while.
Actually, I just wanted to affirm a couple of things. I'm thrilled with Joanna's offer. I think she too indicated she had expertise in this area. It is normally in large organizations with this bylaw commitment, it is called a committee. It should be a standing committee. It should be something that we don't just deal with once we adopt the policy, but we think about it all the time in everything we do, and we keep coming back and measuring our success. So a DEI committee is a standing committee of many large operating organizations. And as a now retired lawyer, but very versed in a lot of these issues for corporate governance, I would be happy to assist on the legal side. I've got my hands pretty full on a couple of things, but for those who, we probably should think about board training and organizational training and bring these people who have these great suggestions and this wonderful energy around DEI to help educate them so they can do the great work for Inc. and then help Inc. take that great work out to the RNOs. But remember, we do have a mandate to adopt a DEI policy by the delegation. So it's this group that is stepping up. And again, I will be in the background to help on the legal side, on drafting. I have lots and lots of examples from large organizations like Colorado Public Radio and others of DEI policy implementation statements. So, I mean, we're not starting from scratch, folks. There's been an effort, thank God, for quite a while to really do this good work. And so this call to action is codified by Inc. now. And I really applaud this group and this effort for stepping up. And again, I offer my legal expertise and help at the time that policy is to be written. And that's my job. I'm pretty good with writing words once the intent is clear. So thank you all for stepping up.
Thank you, Lou. Thanks very much. I've also seen in the chat, Miles, you're interested in working with Lamone. That's great. Lamone, I don't know if you saw this, but I'm sort of putting together my own, this list that I've gleaned from this. So, then I'm seeing in the chat, Adam Meltzer says we should consider getting rid of the requirement of being an RNO as a delegate to be part of INC. That's something that I think we definitely should talk about. Inc. was founded when the RNO ordinance started. I had lunch with Michael Henry about a week ago, and he explained how this all started, and it was tied to RNOs. Maybe it's time to rethink that. I don't know, but that's a good point, Adam. And then Judy Baxter in the chat, for anyone that can't see it, I think we have to have a multi-pronged approach. We need policy and actions. They go together. I agree it needs to be a standing committee and be representative. I think one thing that could happen is as this committee goes forward, Lamone, is maybe at every delegate meeting, there's just a space dedicated. And it could be maybe a teachable moment or a part of history or something that really helps us become more aware of this. That's just something to maybe think about in the focus group that that we're contemplating here.
And I don't know if you recall a couple meetings we had this year. One was about financial literacy that impacts underserved communities, and then we also brought in on the ADU, I brought in the policy advisor from the city, and then I brought in a member of the ADU community, ADU subcommittee with the city, to talk about his actual lived experience. The reason why I did that is a lot of our headaches are because of bad city policy that hasn't been challenged. I'm not sure what the response was, particularly to that ADU presentation, but what I would like to see spin out of it from this organization is some type of conversation about what we can do as an organization and to rally neighborhoods to get involved with some of these city organizations and policies that are just not working.
Lamone, I think that's really one of the central things that INC can do and has done in the past is sort of the interface with the city, to say when we don't like something or something needs to change. But those are good suggestions. Judy, you have your hand up.
Sorry, I was reading chats. I just wanted to question and make sure I understand. Can people work on our committees who aren't delegates? and be a part of the work. Not head up the committee, but Lou's, I think, got an answer to that.
Yeah, maybe Lou has a technical answer. My response, I'm sorry, I have to check. I would hope we allow people that are not delegates, because that's a pretty small
I
pool.
agree.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no,
Lou,
what the bylaws require, and remember, these are new bylaws, and you know, this is an organization that is formed with a mission and a purpose. You have to function within that. So until the city gets rid of the R&O structure or changes it, this organization cannot like all of a sudden operate outside of that R&O structure, but it can and should involve people on committees who are interested in the topics, whether or not they are actually a delegate. And for us who are delegates, I mean, I am on so many committees, equity and rezoning and Denver moves and all these different things. And I think Inc. is righting its ship and going in this right direction, but we have to involve people who have the time and the passion for these issues. Now, you do have to be a delegate to chair that committee, which is appropriate because those committee chairs attend board meetings and bring everybody up to speed. So we do have to know, and I think Emmett's point several times in the chat has been there should be a BIPOC organization should be started. That's fine. There are plenty of organizations with overlapping mission and purpose, but Inc.'s mission and purpose is to function as within the city to help empower neighborhood organizations so that they can take up the mantle and have an effect as the R&O ordinance requires. And our job at Inc. is to make sure we do that with a lens of equity and inclusion and diversity at all levels. Now, obviously, some neighborhoods, that's easier than others. And, you know, and frankly, getting very young people and people of color, and mine is a mixed race family, and I would love to have some of my nephews participate, but they're getting started in their lives, in their businesses. And so there's, you know, we have to make it easier for them to participate fully. And that's, I mean, frankly, it's easier for an old retired person like me to help empower them. So I'm just saying, for us, we've got to stay open-minded with the fact that our lens has to be focused on this, and any way we can get there effectively within that mission is the way that we should go. But definitely including people on the committee that don't have time to be a delegate, and they don't have time to spend too much time in their R&Os, but who care about this should be invited to the table.
thank you, Lou. That's a great point. And I think one of the points you made, Lou, that's very helpful is who has the time to devote to these things. I mean, there's a certain demographic, there's sort of a self-selection of people that have the time to do these things. So that's what we're up against. And then how do we become representative of everybody? So Greg, you have your hand up.
Yes, I would like to nominate Joanna Rosa-Saenz as a delegate or a member at large for the board. She's been very articulate today about her work with DEI, and she's already shown that she has the capability to really add to our board. So I formally nominate Joanna.
I second.
That's great. That's great. So Lou, do we, I really like that. So do we take a vote here? Because normally I thought the president nominated delegates, but that's, I was thinking of Joanna myself.
Well, we can do this, and we should hear from Joanna that that is in fact something
Yeah.
that she would want to take up now, but it would put her on the board, which is fabulous. And she's, you know, she's an expert in this area of work. And so there is nothing that would prevent us from filling those seats, especially Drew, with your approval. We can vote on that. We just voted on 2 open positions already today.
Oh, okay, very good. So I think we should hear from Joanna. Joanna, you've been nominated to be a delegate at large to be on the board. Do you want to say anything?
Oh, I'm first so honored, and absolutely. My philosophy is either step up or step down, and I'm willing to step up and run into our communities and help any way that I can. Thank you so much, Greg, for the nomination, and just thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to seeing where this board goes and making some true effective changes.
So Joanna, and this goes to all board members, we have a monthly meeting that currently is the second Monday night from 6:30 to 8. Usually goes over, that's our board meeting. So it is, we would need you there at least virtually. So could you do that? You can, okay. Okay, so if Joanna is willing to do this, I think this is great. Joanna Rosa-Saenz, did I pronounce it?
It's signs, like stop signs.
Signs. Joanna Rosa-Saenz has been nominated and seconded to be a delegate at large, to be on the board. You'd be a voting member of the board. Let's take a vote. Now I see that there's some people with their hands raised. Should we go to them first? Or Lamone, do you have your hand raised? Maggie? I mean, before we take a vote, do you want some?
Oh, yes. There again, this would be my third time asking for this information. I need to clarify if INC is a delegated body appointed by the city to represent all of the RNOs.
I think INC is an RNO.
I
But
can
is it,
answer that, I
No,
believe.
let me answer that for you. INC is an independent 501c3 nonprofit organization formed under Colorado law many, many years ago, whose purpose it is to help facilitate participation by RNOs and to speak as an organization of organizations. So it's really to take the ordinance, the RNO ordinance for Denver neighborhoods that form RNOs, and of course there are requirements to do that, and help them succeed in representing their neighborhoods, help get them information, coordinate that information. So it's really an independent organization that has received city recognition and assistance to implement the RNO structure within the city ordinance more effectively. Does that help?
but there again, is the INC the delegated appointee by community planning to be this umbrella organization?
No, it is not.
It is not.
It is
Okay.
not, Lamone. You
Okay.
still have to, in fact, INC, it is difficult. INC is really focused on helping RNOs represent their neighborhoods, because a neighborhood may have a real focus on one particular issue. When INC, you may not get a full delegation of people in other neighborhoods to care about that particular issue. So it is up to INC to help that organization figure out how to inform its residents, take a position, and get that position statement to the city. So it's there to help, and only occasionally, and we just went through this with the sidewalk support. It takes a lot to take an official INC position. So it has to be an issue widely shared and widely supported. But no, it is not an RNO of itself. So while its support may have impact, by ordinance, it's the RNO that has the direct weigh in on issues. Does that help?
It sounds like the INC is an extension of community planning. That's what it sounds like.
No, it
No, I
really
mean,
isn't. It really
no.
isn't. I'm happy, Lamone, at some point to, we can have a conversation, or I'll meet for coffee or whatever, and I'll kind of walk you through some of these things on the organizational structure if you want to know.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't help to try to take action that's sort of outside the lane. But, to Emmett's point, there are lots of organizations that do different kinds of work, but the lane that INC drives is focused on empowering, educating, facilitating participation of residents in Denver through the RNO system. And that's structurally where we are. But anytime you want to meet Lamone, and I'd be happy to help anybody who's new to the board on these. Are good questions, and good to get clarification, because Inc. does not hold this huge power with the city. It holds a responsibility to RNOs to participate with the city.
Okay. Now I've been to some of the banquets, and I even got one of those, was it Neighborhood Star award?
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. What I have observed is the city council folks will show up to the INC banquets, but they won't show up consistently to the RNO meetings. I'm vice president of Northeast Park Hill Coalition. And then I have a East Denver Residents Council, which is primarily dedicated to grassroots organizing for seniors, okay? It's very hard to get our city council reps interested in showing up at the grassroots level. And I think that's something we need to work on. In other words, I don't want to see my rep at an INC banquet, but then he won't pick up the phone when I call about specifics. And I think we need to put more accountability on our city council reps to help the neighborhoods get through stuff. It's not happening. So perhaps we could incorporate that in the DEI, and then I will, do a deeper dive on that later.
Happy to help you anytime you want, Lamone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Lamone. I think so. Maggie's had her hand up, and then Joanna has also again. But Maggie, you've had your hand up for a while.
Yes, I'm sorry for the background noise. Just a minute. Okay, it's over. Those were good comments, Lamone, and I appreciate what you're saying. It's a sad commentary that we can throw an expensive dinner and some free drinks at our representatives, and that's the only time we see them. So I agree with that. What I specifically had my hand up for was in terms of participation on committees. No, it's always been my understanding, and I think it was even spelled out in the old bylaws, and maybe it's in the new bylaws, but I've missed them, that in order to be, anyone can come to our committee meetings, but people who are members of a member RNO are specifically encouraged to come, because they can at that point become a committee chair.
Yeah, that's a good comment, Maggie. So listen, we have a vote to take on Joanna Rosa-Saenz as a delegate at large. Is there any other discussion about that? Or we heard from Joanna. Otherwise, we should take a vote. And Maggie, I'm going to ask you to lower your hand while we take a vote here. So let's take a vote on the nomination of Joanna Rosa-Saenz as delegate at large. She'd be a member of the board. I'm going to say we have our first meeting Monday night, Joanna, 6:30. So that would be a good requirement. But let everybody in favor, please raise your hand. Is everyone voting? I see 22 in favor. Is that, what does that accord with what everybody else is seeing? Okay, so I think 22. I can't tell if people are voting from the phone. I don't really know how to see that. So I have 22 in favor of Joanna. Could everybody lower their hands, please? Any opposed? Please lower your hands. Yeah, thanks. Any opposed to Joanna being on the board? Oops, I've got it. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. Any opposed? I'm seeing 0. Any abstentions? Okay, it looks like I want to welcome Joanna to the board. Oh wait, Lou Raiders. Yes, that's a clap. Welcome, Joanna. I trust the secretary will get you the needed information, for the board meeting. I think you're on the email list and all of that stuff. So welcome, Joanna. It'll be great to have you with us. I think you'll be a great addition.
Thank you so much. And just for the record, so I used to work in my district, city council with Councilwoman Sandoval. And now I am in District 9 with Councilwoman Sitabaca, just as a volunteer, but I am with the state. So I heard everybody's concerns, and because of my connections with them, you're right. They should not just be coming to that and not talk to us. So I will make sure to bridge that gap as I am with City Council as we speak. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you for offering. And we really look forward to having you. I think you bring you'll be a great addition. Thank you. Now, we still have one delegate at large seat, and I think everybody, this has been such a good discussion, and I think maybe think about another nomination for the delegate at large. There's still one open seat. If we don't have nominations this morning, we're approaching 11 o'clock here. I think at least at our next meeting let's consider that be the 5th delegate at large. Okay. And so our October meeting will have the issues. We will have 4 ballot issues to be discussed. We'll spend about a half hour on each one, but we'll have some business at the beginning to take care of. But this has been such a great discussion. And I think just to the board members, Monday night, especially Lamone, if you're leading up this focus group, let's talk about that and how to get that going.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other comments anyone has any burning comments that they want? It's 11 o'clock. This is a little unusual to stop on time. So let's not break a record. Judy.
Yeah, I would just like to propose that rather than calling it a focus group, I would call it an ad hoc committee with a proposal that we make an amendment to the bylaws to have it become a standing committee, a commitment to oversee our DEI policy action and the implementation. And I don't want this to go away. Focus group sounds way too short-lived for me.
Well, I'll tell you the reason why I suggested a focus group is to establish a commitment before we put people on committees and they drop off. I mean, the commitment is what we're going to do, that we're going to take to the delegate, to the board for a commitment, and then we can run with a committee. I'm just
Okay.
not sure that the commitment is there based upon what's transpired the past year. So a focus group is going to establish the interest, just like you run a marketing plan. You do focus groups to see if there's going to be a demand, or you can create a demand for what you want to do. So this is the same thing. If the focus group yields a lot of interest, now then we can talk about ad hocs and committees and all of that stuff.
Okay.
That's
I
very
appreciate
helpful.
where you're coming from then. It's to gain the commitment to build to that.
But I want to see the commitment before I dive in.
Yep.
Yeah, Lamone, that's a very good insight that you just outlined, I think. Okay, does anyone else have anything to say? Anything else? You're waving goodbye, Lou? Okay, all right, so let's,
I just wanted to correct one thing. So the bylaws currently allow for creation of committees and standing committees. And I think to Lamone's point, the board at its meeting can establish this as a special committee, just like we had the bylaws committee as a special committee, and then form this commitment, and then they can also establish other committees. So we don't, we can do a lot of this by resolution, but right now, I think, Lamone, that might hit your concern on the head, and you guys can pick that up and just look at the bylaws. There's a section on the committees and it's outlined right there.
That sounds kind of bureaucratic, a little too bureaucratic for my taste. I just
Well,
want to
those of us
find
who
out
are
who wants
lawyers
to do it.
follow rules, and that's currently how those are set in place. And
That's all well and good, but I'm not bureaucratic. I just want to get the work done, be it inside of a bureaucratic structure or out here in the streets. As long as we're getting the work done, I don't care.
That's great. That sounds great. That's okay. All right. And everyone, this has been a great meeting. Thank you so much for everyone being very open and very honest and talking about things that we've needed to talk about. It's probably long overdue, but I think we're moving forward in a positive direction. We just have to push harder. So thanks to everyone. I think we'll, do I have somebody to move that we adjourn in a second?
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll
Great.
second.
Great. Okay, so this meeting's over. We'll see you all on October 8th, and we'll see our new board members and our existing board members on Monday night. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody.
You did a good job, Drew. Thank you.
Thank you.